So like a lot of people working in the live streaming space, I've used all manner of video conferencing tools to bring in remote guests, remote hosts. So, Teams, Zoom, Skype. And for the most part, Discord has been the best and most reliable of these services, but it has a huge limitation, which is you can only really have one guest per PC, or you got to mix all the guest audio together. And, different guests have different microphones, different volumes. So if you want to have basically independent channels for each guest, they all need to be at different devices, or you need to run multiple instances of Discord, and it gets really convoluted. But there was one piece of software that popped up that really got my interest. It was known as OBS.Ninja. Now it's rebranded to VDO.Ninja or VDO.Ninja. And at the time, it really had all the features that most people would want. It just wasn't there in terms of development. It wasn't quite stable yet. But I checked into it recently, and there's been a lot of impressive updates and features and tools. So I wanted to dive into those because I think this is a really amazing tool. And most importantly, I think people should support this software. It's open source. There's a huge, amazing support guide that tells you all the tools and features, but there's a link in the description if you want to donate and support the project. I have, and I think anyone else who might use this tool should too, as well, because it's going to be an amazing tool as it gets more resources and development put into it. All right, so first up, like I said, VDO.Ninja is completely open source and free to use. And this video is not going to be a tutorial or basic tutorial on how to get set up and get using VDO.Ninja. I actually created a great guide for this on the Expert YouTube channel. I'll have a link to it in the description. There'll probably be a link above that pops up. But what we're actually going to talk about is some of the more advanced features that I think a lot of live stream producers would be interested in. And these are some features that, like, you've tried every piece of software and every piece of audio routing, and you probably have this crazy convoluted double mixer or talkback feature just to get this stuff to work. But VDO.Ninja just does all this routing for you. So let's jump into some of these really cool features. So first things first, the basics of VDO.Ninja, like I said, is you create a room and you get put into this director's room, and you put in links to give to your guests. You can add them in, and then you basically capture these as solo links through a browser source, and that's how you manage the video, and that's how you get separate audio and video feeds. We'll cover more of that in a bit. But one thing that I think a lot of people really enjoy having and can be kind of tricky, especially if you don't have the mixer for it, is having Talkback. So Talkback is basically, so you can talk to your talent, but it doesn't appear, on the feed that everyone hears going out to the stream. Now, the cool thing about VDO.Ninja is that this Talkback is built in directly. So as long as you're a director and you're not a performer, you can actually talk back to your guests directly, and it won't appear on their outgoing feeds, and it doesn't appear on the stream. But at an even higher level, it has a feature known as Solo Talk. So Solo Talk, I'm sure you've seen a lot of streams where, the casters are talking and all of a sudden they pause, especially new casters. Like once they hear someone in the ear saying something, like your natural reaction is to pause and stop talking. That can be really awkward for the broadcast. Or you can see them trying to power through it, but they're also trying to focus and it's kind of hard, or they miss the message. Now, what Solo Talk does is you can actually specify the guest that you want to talk to. So if you have one caster doing maybe some play-by-play while the color is being quiet, you can actually solo talk to that remote talent and say things to them directly. So you can wait for a break when someone's not talking, solo talk to them and let them know what's going on. Now, this will actually evolve more in the future with a co-director option, but we'll leave that for another future video. But this solo talk feature is really useful in getting the information without interrupting your hosts. Now, with the last two recent updates, there's actually been this really cool feature called the co-director. So a lot of times you might have a stream where you have, say, a technical director. This is the one maybe switching the shots, or just an overall director kind of just switching scenes. And maybe you have like a producer, and the producer is, making sure like certain ad reads are being done or certain lines are being read. So what you need is maybe the director that is going in there and adjusting audio levels. They have basically control over everything, and they can adjust audio levels and mute people and basically control VDO.Ninja overall. But the co-director can go in there, and they also have access to the talkback feature, basically the director's audio channel. So they can go in and kind of mention something to the talent. So this is really helpful if you have a co-director either in studio with you just on their own laptop, or even remotely. They can come in, they can join, they can see the live feed of what's going on, and they can give notes to the talent if things are being missed or changes or updates need to be made to the runner show. So the co-director feature is a little funky to implement. You actually got to create this whole new URL that has its whole separate password, because you create a password for guests to join, but you actually need to create a co-director room basically and create a password for the co-director's guests to join. Now, it's actually been streamlined a bit in the latest update to create this link to give to people, but they basically got to enter a separate password to be accepted as co-directors, not the same password as a guest have, because of course there needs to be a level of security to make sure people don't like mute or change anything funky or are not talking on the right channels. All right, so the next thing is how our guests gonna see stuff and see the preview feed and see what's going out to the stream. So you can actually enable it so everyone can see everything and they can see each other, but this can cause a lot of bandwidth, and if your hosts don't have the bandwidth or they don't have the best PCs, it can really make things chug, or especially spitting out so many feeds from your computer as well. So you can actually set it so that only the director has a video output, and you can use a virtual camera to send this. Now, of course, this is only video. The audio input, you can send something. Now, usually you'd probably just send the director's talkback mic, but if you have, virtual audio cables, you can route stuff so it can be, your mic and maybe like a loop back, just as long as it's not their voices, and send it back to them. You might want to get a mixer to do this. And another thing too is that if you don't have a good beefy PC to manage all this, you can actually use a service known as Mirrorcast, also provided by VDO.Ninja, and this will basically give a stream feed that's very low latency that you can embed in as the director's preview via embedding a website, or you can just give the link straight up, and the remote host can actually watch this. And since it's based on a server, it's not going to take more resources on your end. You can control the bitrate, control the microphone input. You can use this on a separate PC, and it has different regions. So depending on the distance between your hosts, they might not have the best connection to you. So this is a really good backup option. And for now, it's completely free. All right, so probably the best thing about VDO.Ninja is that it gives you pure total control over your video quality and audio quality. So you can enable a couple things here like pro audio and up to 1080p 60 FPS. And as long as their computers can handle it, it'll send it to you. And as long as your computer can take it in as well. And the cool thing about these is, you set the audio bitrate as high as you want, the video bitrate as high as you want. Make sure to test the bandwidth and make sure they're on a wired connection, definitely not wireless. And it makes super clear, super crisp video. Now, the only downside is you have to learn different parameters. I mean, it's not that complicated, but there's actually been some handy tools created to help you build these parameters really quickly and configure your links and stuff for your guests very quickly and easily. I'll leave a link to these in the description as well. All right, the last tool I want to talk to you about is the Electron app. So basically, the Electron app is this web browser that opens up in a separate window. And you use this to load your solo guest links from VDO.Ninja into the Electron app. And the cool thing about this app is it gives you a lot of functionality that you need to produce a show with different guests. So you can select the audio output. So if you have multiple audio outputs or maybe virtual audio outputs, you can add these as different sources in your streaming software so that you can separate and mix the different guests. And then you can change the window titles and resize the windows. So it makes it really easy to be able to screen capture and manage your windows. So it's a really helpful tool. And the bonus is since you have different audio outputs, you can actually apply VSTs to these audio sources to further crisp them up the audio, or add a compressor, an EQ, or a limiter. Really helpful tool. All right, so to wrap it up, I can't help but sing the praises of the VDO app. The developer is really responsive. If you go in the Discord, you can ask questions, he'll add features. Like by the time this video is out, it's probably even gonna be a little bit outdated because the app is constantly evolving and new features are being added to the website or Mirrorcast or the Electron app. All these things get constantly updated. So it's super awesome. Again, please donate, please help support. Links in the description for it. And if you have any questions about VDO.Ninja and my experience with it, let me know in the comments. We've actually used it on a couple productions. It's been working pretty good. It takes a little bit of time to configure and set up, but there's some tricks and tools you can use. Like you can save the URL, like if you're doing a show over and over again, so that basically when you load the browser, it goes straight to that page. Same thing with the Electron app. You can actually use command lines to open a bunch of windows and basically speed up getting your sources and scenes set up. It's really helpful. There's really good documentation on this. So go ahead and check it out. Leave a like and subscribe if this video was helpful. And hopefully you've been having a good break or kicking off the new year whenever you're watching this, but catch you on the next one.